What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence. It has been some time. I'm shaking off the cobwebs. So, if you haven't seen me, maybe you don't know who I am, but I am Jack Allen. This is Conspiracy or Just a Coincidence. If you want, I'm getting back in the Twitter world. I just had a baby a few weeks ago. That was chaos. He's in the NICU, but he's doing well. Named Louis. I couldn't sell anyone on spelling it Louis, like my favorite monarch, the Sun King Louis. But so Louis is the nickname, Louie. But he's doing well, so maybe a few more weeks in the NICU. But you can follow me at Kojak Podcast. So to shake off the cobwebs, I thought no better than to bring on one of my good buddies and somebody who's going to be one of the most knowledgeable people on this topic of Zionism, the Oddman from the Oddcast. So, Oddman, welcome. Thank you. I hope you're doing well. And how's it going, buddy? How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great, and I'm really honored you asked me to be on your first comeback show. This is like when Elvis came back and he was all dressed in leather, he made the comeback. So this is cool, man. It's great to talk with you.
Oh, good, dude. Yeah. So much has happened. I can't remember the last time I did. I think the last show I did was the politics of heroin. And that was a
Oh, yeah.
long time ago when I finished that topic, which even relates to this now. There was a lot of they were Zionists were very involved in the opium trade, but so many things have happened since we last spoke. So much chaos, so much craziness. The world just gets crazier and crazier each week, probably by plan. But that was the first topic that I really want. Everyone's talking about it, and I'm sure conspiracy people have talked about it, but not I haven't heard Oddman talk about it, so I'm excited to. So obviously everyone knows what's going on with
Right.
Palestine, Israel. I mean, it's been going on forever, right? But yeah. So I just wanted your take of when you first saw the news of those, which was a hilarious clip. I should have saved the clip of those guys flying in on that rave on those gosh darn like fanned. I don't even know what kind of device those are called. I don't even know what they were released from. I don't know if you know, but you just see them flying over at this rave, with their two guys on a little go-kart with a big fan attached to the back of it. But what was your immediate reaction, I guess, witnessing when you heard the news, when you saw the news of all this chaos that's broken in the Middle East?
Well, I thought about because a couple of days before that, some Jews had stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which they call the Temple Mount,
Okay.
and
I don't know if I saw that.
yeah, so this bunch of Jews, I think like 20 or something like that, had stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque, came in and started spreading around cow blood and blowing shofars. And that didn't get much
Wait,
attention.
sorry, is that like the horn thing?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's like a war thing, right? Like a war rallying cry?
I think so. And it's got a couple different meanings, but yeah, for sure. Part of their rituals. And, that's where the Muslims pray. That's their mosque basically, but it's the Temple Mount, which the Christians and Jews call it, which is not in the Bible. It's not really biblical, but that's what they call it. And, it's a big deal because the Jews want that back. Israel wants that back because I think they believe that that's where Solomon's temple was, and they're going to rebuild their third temple there.
Okay.
So they've even got like underground there. There's this, I think it's called the Temple Institute, and it's very well funded. And so underneath that mosque, they've got this huge tunnel room that they've got like this, almost like, what would you call it? Almost like a theater or something, with the seats for the 72 elders, I believe, 70 or 72 elders. And so they believe, that eventually they're going to start doing temple sacrifices like Old Testament days. They're looking for a perfect red heifer that has all red hairs, not one white or other colored hair. It goes back to the Old Testament.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So I saw that and I thought, oh shit, this is in retaliation for that. Because, like if you just follow regular mainstream conservative news, you're never going to see anything negative about Israel. You know what I mean? Nothing. And for the last few years since I got into this subject, I follow a bunch of these other sites that they do kind of report all these things that the IDF and the Israelis are doing, like shooting kids and
Right.
just taking people's homes and kicking old people to the curbs and stuff like that. So, that's kind of what I thought, but I had no idea how big it was going to be. For at least a few hours until Netanyahu officially declared war.
And so when you so you thought that was this that was the like the first ground bait when you saw that them blowing that it's like a ram horn or something. I can like visualize
Yeah,
what would you say, what is it called?
the shofar.
The shofar. Okay. So
Yeah.
you saw that happen days previous to what the eventual I'm looking for, not infiltration, but first prior to the attack
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
Palestinians on Israel. That happened a few days prior to that.
Right. Yeah. I think just 2 or 3 days. I could be wrong about that. It might have been like a week, but it wasn't very long and it didn't get much news coverage. And it was a pretty big deal. Like back in 1994, there was an Israeli Baruch Goldstein. He was a doctor. I can't remember if it was at the Al Aqsa Mosque or one of the other big mosques in the area, but he came in right as it was prayer time and killed 29 Palestinians and injured a whole bunch of others. It's called I think that's actually called the Cave of the Patriarchs. So I guess that's different than the Al Aqsa Mosque. But yeah, I just was thinking about those kinds of things, and I didn't realize how much had happened. Like there was actually some kind of operation going on by Hamas until, a little bit later. And it seemed like, oh, this is a much bigger attack than I thought it would be. And one of my initial thoughts too was like, it's just well known how good their security system is in Israel. It's second to none.
Oh, absolutely.
I've heard ex IDF soldiers talk about how if somebody gets within 100 feet of it, they get automatically sniped. I mean, they got cameras everywhere, infrared, all these different types of motion detectors and things like that. And so I was a little bit taken back. I was like, what? There's no way that they got that many Hamas guys into Israel?
Right. Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I read about that. I know they have that wall that they built, barbed wire, that wall that kind of locks them in. Well, I think there's two exit points, right? You can either for the Gaza Strip, you can either go through Israel, which you can't get through there, or you can go through Egypt. And I don't know why is there animosity between Egypt and Palestine? Why? Because I read like they're not maybe they are now, but they never before would allow Palestinians into Egypt. Correct? Am I right
Yeah,
on
I
that?
think there's some animosity for sure, and it may just be. I mean, it may go back. There may be some history there that I'm not familiar with, but like I think that they don't want to piss off Israel by being overly friendly to Palestine.
Okay.
Hamas has done some attacks in uh, Egypt, and so they're definitely against that, obviously. But there was a time where Egypt and Israel were at war a few decades ago too. So Egypt's not taking sides as of right now. They've officially, you've probably seen this, but they've officially said we're not taking sides, and that our government warned the Israeli government
I
that
saw
attacks are
that.
on the way,
Yeah.
and they didn't want to do anything. So,
Oh, shocking. Oh
right?
no, no shock. So shocking. So
Yeah,
shocking.
yeah,
Well, it's like I mean, and that's one positive thing that I've seen on the internet, like that, that the boomer generation that has been so propagandized post World War II of pro Israel, pro this ethno nationalist state. They deserve their homeland that's been promised to them whether you're a Christian or not, promised them in a book. They deserve this. I mean, you see the vitriol on the internet, and not just from Zionists, from everybody. What I think they're from land to sea. We will annihilate thee. I know that's not the rhyme, but it's something along those lines of we will destroy every single Palestinian. Which and that's this what it's 6 million people in like or 2 million people in a 6 mile square air open air prison. Essentially, it's one of the most
Mm,
poor areas in the world. They can't they and people in a will just leave. They can't leave. They have nowhere to go. They're it's you can't leave.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they now they're the threat, and I think they actually did. They shut off what the water, the electricity, and
yeah,
of those 2 million, what 50% are women and children, probably because all the men have either been killed, imprisoned, jailed. That's why there is no men of fighting age because they've killed them all or they've all been jailed or what have you.
yeah,
And
yeah,
there's no pushback in from obviously from not Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity or Mark Levin, all
yeah,
these guys. None of them have said, well, maybe that's yeah, that's a war crime to shut off basic needs of anybody. But oh well, they deserve it though. No one said no. They say, yeah, let's do it. Let's cut them. Let's destroy them all. Or my favorite was that the most recent lie of that one CNN reporter that claimed that 40 babies were beheaded from Hamas. And then now they finally had to admit, well, actually, I was actually just repeating what I heard. I didn't actually see that. But it reminds me of the babies in the incubators. It
yeah,
reminds me of so many of these false flag propagandist events that start every war, right? That Pearl
yeah,
Harbor, all these things that whatever you can get to rile people up to give justification for now they're going to blow the Gaza Strip off the map if this continues. And yeah, yeah, this is the perfect way to do that. Now you have no hate in the world community because oh look they're killing babies, they're
yeah.
slaughtering grandmothers, they're slaughtering girls and all and what have you.
Yeah, and it's, again, you go back to, I always think, like the conservatives truly don't know that Israel has been mistreating and doing a lot of these same things to, to Palestinians and Arabs for years. And you can, the videos and stuff have gotten out there since cell phones, so a lot of this stuff has been documented, but they'll never see it. And they truly think that, Muslims are the epitome of all evil. And I'm sure Hamas, I'm sure, is very evil, but even they, I mean, Israel basically created them because they were funding Muslim groups, and they, it's like blowback, like just like we were funding Muslim groups, the Mujahideen and different groups like that turned into Al Qaeda and then supposedly ISIS, although a lot of people think that was actually Mossad. So, it's a crazy thing. And I try to tell people, look, man, I don't want to see any innocent people get killed. It's horrible. But if you look back at the early Zionists, they were turning down offers from Britain and other countries, America even, to let Jews of all ages come in to get away from the violence, for World War II era. And they were telling them no, because if they came to America or England or wherever, it would possibly hurt their chances of occupying Palestine and taking Palestine. So these Zionists don't care to allow some of their own people to be killed.
Oh
And
no.
the big picture, of course, is they want all of Palestine. This was written in their documents. Theodore Herzl was the father of Zionism, and in his I think it's his excuse me, not his biography, but I guess his one of his books that tells his story of his life. I think it's his diaries, actually. Yeah, his diaries. They are volume 2, I believe. It has a map in there that they had drawn out, and it was Lebanon and Syria and most of Egypt and other parts of the Middle East. So they've always wanted most of the Middle East, the Levant, all that. So that's always been in the background. That's what they want. And so no matter what, Palestine or the Arabs do, Israel wants that land, you know, and they're going to take it because they've got so much backing from, unfortunately, the evangelical Christians and the right wing and a lot of the left wing too. I
Oh,
mean, yeah, I'm sure you've noticed that too.
oh yeah, it goes cross. But I mean, APAC supports. But you have Nancy Pelosi. You have everybody. That's. I did see a tweet I think from AOC like that said something, and maybe Ilhan Omar. But even them, I remember a while back there was a vote. I forget what the vote was for, whether it was funding for more military aid to Israel or something like that, and AOC abstained from the vote. She didn't
Mm,
vote no. I think the only person that voted no was like Thomas Massey and maybe a few other random people. But
mhm.
these people, I don't even know if Ilhan Omar voted no on this. I think she even abstained from voting. They're just so well funded by for all these politicians that they can't speak out against this. They'll lose all their funding. The remaining in power is so important to them, their values, their beliefs. They don't have any.
Yeah, and I think Cynthia McKinney was a representative for a while, and she testified that she refused to sign this document that pledges allegiance to Israel, and she said that every new member has to sign it. And John Mearsheimer, I think it was, he's written several books about the Israel lobby, and he said the same thing. So our representatives have to sign a paper saying they're loyal to another country. So right off the bat, they're already compromised if they haven't been already.
Right. Right. Well, I'm just going to share, and everyone that listens here, you guys all know this, but just so you guys can see for if you by some chance you haven't seen the but just the land from 1947 to now. So if you don't aren't watching, you're just listening. It's just that map of the land change and loss from 1947 to now. I mean, look at this. I mean, it was all, there's these little swaths of Jewish settlements, and it just grew and grew and grew. And now all that's left for Palestine is the Gaza Strip and these random little parts in the middle of Israel, Palestine, whatever you want to call it, which I think that's in the area more where they just come in and take homes and take whatever they want over the Palestinians. It doesn't matter. It's theirs in their mind, and we've all seen those videos of them just coming in and kicking people out of their homes
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. But it's just it's crazy to me that just nobody that so many people, it's just so many people on the right, especially like I said, the older generation is just so propagandized or maybe
Uh,
funded that they deny this. They
yeah.
dispute this. They ignore this. They say, "Oh, no, it's what you're anti-Semite because you don't support this genocide of these." They call the West colonizers of Native Americans and all these other the third colonies of other countries around the world. But this is different. This is total.
Mhm.
This scenario is not the same. This is totally different.
Exactly. Exactly. And, you look at talk radio, which is still very influential. You got Dennis Prager, Michael Savage, of course, Ben Shapiro. I'm going to leave out a bunch of people. Michael Medved, Dave Rubin. There's a whole slew of these guys that are Jewish, and of course they are hardcore Zionists. And so they everything that they ever talk about is pro-Israel, anti-Palestine. So they have a huge influence. And then you think about, of course, Fox News and not just Fox News, but if you watch the liberal news, they pretend like they're kind of unbiased on this subject, but they barely tell you anything negative about Israel, And look at Wolf Blitzer, Jewish, a very hardcore Zionist. I've seen him debating another Jewish author on Zionism. He's like, you would think he would be a hardcore right winger when you see this debate because he's so pro Zionist. But Blitzer and Jake Tapper, um, Chuck Todd, you start looking at all the media people that are Jews, and you're like, whoa, this is a really weird influence because it's such a small percentage of people as a whole. And then they, infest the media and infest these presidential administrations. Like the show I just dropped today, I went back over every administration back to the Clinton administration and their appointees who happen to be Jewish. Because, we always like, especially seems like well, I guess both sides are just as bad. They blame the president, sometimes Speaker of the House. They always get all the blame. But we know that it's these people that run the agencies that are really more influential than the president. He's kind of just out there, the face of everything. And we also know that Biden isn't in charge of anything. So,
Not
I
even
think,
put on his underwear.
Right. I think Pete Quinones or somebody maybe tweeted it on Pete's Twitter X profile, but it was all those people I just mentioned in the Biden administration. It was each person and their position, and it was all kinds of people. Nearly every major position, except I think the Secretary of State, is Jewish, and he was just saying that isn't it funny that the conservatives, they say they're like so pro-Israel, anti-Palestine, and they hate Biden and they blame him for everything, but they never talk about who is actually running these, these administrations, which are mostly Jews. Like this administration, the Obama administration and the George W. Bush administration was unreal. I had an unreal amount of Ashkenazi Jews in there. So obviously, the Bush administration is what brought us the horrible war on terror. And sorry if I'm being long winded here. I'll finish this up.
You're
But
not at
like,
all.
think about it, dude. We just got kind of got out of the war on terror, and it was a total disaster. Millions of people dead, trillions of dollars wasted. All these lives disrupted, people displaced, infrastructure absolutely destroyed. And these conservatives, man, they are on a tear. Like I've been watching them on Twitter, and they are pushing World War III. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it's unbelievable.
It's scary, dude.
Yeah.
It's it's absolutely terrifying. It's the and it reminds me of like all the virtue signaling the left does on all these other topics, whether it's gender equality, racial equality, all that stuff. This is the rights culture war. Like, oh, you are an anti-Semite because you don't believe that and I honestly I'm not against Israel having an ethno state. There's many benefits to having a culturally homogenous country. You have similar values, you have similar beliefs. I mean, this isn't this seems to be the only place that's legally or socially acceptable to say that. But any other country that may want that, that's bad, right? It just doesn't.
Right.
It's just comical that, but it's funny how the right uses that as their verse that, oh, I'm a better person than you because I stand for more of this than you do. So that's they're playing the left's game of who's a better person because by using this topic as their support. It's just it's funny. It's funny.
Yeah, and I've noticed too that the conservatives like to talk about free speech and they like to talk about free trade, but dude, you saw how they attacked the BDS movement, the movement, I guess, to boycott Israeli goods and businesses. They were all against that. So that's against free trade because you should be able to trade with whoever you want. And then you see people like Trump, DeSantis, and Biden signing legislation supposedly to, kind of clamp down on anti-Semitic speech, but yet they changed the definition of what anti-Semitic even means a few years ago. So they are, I think, getting everything ready for what's happening right now. I think this has been on the back burner, on the back plan for a while. And let me finish by saying this, that, the ADL just last week, I believe, maybe 2 weeks ago, had one of the biggest meetings they've ever had, supposedly to figure out how to, again, clamp down on anti-Semitic speech. I think too many people are starting to realize what's going on. They're starting to look at these people in these administrations and these CEOs and oh, wait a minute, there's so many of these people are Jewish. It's a small minority of people. They're taking over. I mean, that's just,
Yeah. Yeah. Dude.
I mean, they're calling it. I don't, I'm not against every Jewish person. I think anybody who's seeking power can become quickly corrupted. And then you get like a minority of people who are organized together and they want the same kind of things. You will eventually be conquered if you don't start to kind of push back. And that's what's happening. And and their holy books talk about that. They mean to conquer the whole world, because if you look at the Orthodox Judaism, they tell you openly that the West, Rome, and Christianity is modern Esau, Edom, there was Jacob and Esau in the Bible, and they see themselves as Jacob, and the non-Jews or Gentiles are Esau's offspring, and they say that they will be conquered, and basically the whole world will be ran from Israel, and the whole world will turn into Israel, basically. And here's the thing: and I've got this on video. These guys talking about it. Every Jew will have 2,800 Gentiles under him to study Torah, and the ones that push back against this whole thing will be killed. So the
Oh
end
no
goal
shit.
is domination. It's just what it is,
Right. Right. Oh, dude. I was about to say lost my like train of thought where I was going, what I was going to say next here. Um, nah, it
I'm
doesn't matter.
talking too much, dude.
No,
You
you're
got
not
me
at all,
fired up.
dude. You know far more about this topic than I mean, I know like very little of, I just all I remember is just like when it first started in 19 just the in the 1947 how they celebrated these people that were committing these mass terror attacks of blowing up whatever, hotels, hospitals, whatever they could. And these
Yeah.
were the people that would end up becoming the main politicians, the main prime minister, or what have you, for that violence that they put on Palestinians. And it's
Yeah.
crazy again that we just accept this. We say that's their right. They deserve this. They fight harder for a foreign country than they would for their own country with the immigration and all that kind of stuff. It's so hypocritical. It's hard. And again, that's what's even more shocking. Again, how the older generation, who is slowly either dying off or whatever, they're losing that same power that they used to have. But it still amazes me the support that they give and the oh, this is correct, this is morally right, they deserve this.
Yeah.
It's just just so wild to me.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, man, because most people have no clue about what's really happened there. There was the Deir Yassin massacre. I think that was in 48, basically right after they took Israel or Palestine. They went in and just mobbed this village, killing men, women, and children. There were multiple massacres that they pulled off. And there were about 400, I believe 85 villages at one time in Palestine. There was like over 800,000 Arab Palestinians in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And, there's, they ran most of those people off or killed them. And the whole, like probably 90% of the world has no idea about all that stuff.
No, no, no. They have zero clue, zero clue, and I don't think they really care at all. I don't think
No.
they understand the significance or the importance of it. And to kind of go back to how these I like how I saw that was where I wanted to go. Jonathan Greenblatt, the head of the ADL, who the right has been battling against, he's silencing free speech. ADL's a terror, whatever. I don't think they call them a terrorist organization, but whatever the word they use. And then did you see that interview? I think he was on MSNBC and he had this real powerful, pointing and everything. And I saw all the comments I saw were like, rare Greenblatt W and all this stuff like that. And it cracks me up. It's like, you guys, we just ignoring that he wanted to silence every conservative on Twitter for the last 2 years. He's trying to kick people off. He's trying to pull advertisers off of X. But now you agree with him. And then I also wanted to bring up how we were talking about that they were totally surprised by these attacks. I mean, it's laughable, dude. Like again, those people I will never get that image out of my head. Those guys on those stupid flying things just flying in the sky. Like you're telling me that the country that pretty much probably built our defense system, that is so involved in our domestic security, this took them by surprise. This shocked them. They had no idea this was coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's impossible. Do they have backed Pegasus, that Pegasus program, all those things? They had no idea that this was going to happen. No, they absolutely knew this was going to, it's like if the ends justify the means, they will sacrifice as many people as they need to provide justification to fully eradicate the Gaza Strip, fully eradicate any Palestinian that's in Israel left. And this is the perfect way to do it, because if you sell their beheading babies, you sell the or that girl that promoted everywhere, the girl that was at the rave dancing for freedom or whatever. They originally said she was killed and raped and all these things, and that turned out to be a lie. The grandma said no, she's alive and well, she's
Yeah.
fine, she's
Yeah.
okay. But they'll use whatever they need to provide justification so they can blow Palestine, the Gaza Strip, off the face of the map.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I see a lot of I see like Lindsey Graham and Wayne Allen Root. And I even saw this stupid minister, I forget his name. His last name's Locke, calling for just destroying everybody. And it's like, what are you, that makes you just as bad as the terrorists, you fool,
Right.
you know? Um, yeah, they've got to keep that, victim mentality, or not mentality, but the victimhood. They've got to keep that because it's very coveted. They've got to look like they're the underdogs and they're picked on always, and nobody likes them, and they've had it so bad. As long as they do that, they're going to keep getting tons of money from the conservatives and Christians. Man, I like on Facebook. Yeah, I shouldn't even be on there anymore. But anyway, I like to get on there and just follow people. But so about every third ad is an ad for Israel. It's for like an NGO or a 501c3 asking for money to send to Israel. And they're like the 13th most wealthy country, or if you want to call it a country, in the world already. I started looking into the money they make from tourism. Oh, dude, it's unbelievable. Uh, like they're one of the main exporters of arms. They're very high up on the NASDAQ. I mean, it's unbelievable how rich that place is. And we give them, of course, 3.8 billion. And, I think it was the same day as this whole thing kicked off, Biden gave them 8 more billion for aid, or approved it. We're 33 trillion in debt. It's the craziest thing, man. And one thing too I wanted to bring up quickly is another thing that's fishy about this is, in January, they had the new government over there elected, and it was a merger between the Likud party, which is Netanyahu's party, and this other party called well, in English, it's the Israel Power Party. So
Oh, nice,
the
nice,
white
nice.
power party, right?
Yes,
But
right, right.
super, super fundamentalist, and got all these rabbis that are a part of it and everything. And so they were trying to change the laws and make it like really strict Old Testament style, but even worse. And a lot of people push back. They've been having riots and all kinds of problems over there ever since. And Netanyahu's walked a little bit of it back, but it's still on the back burner. And I don't think they could keep that under control. And now, under the fog of war, just like after 9/11 here, they can do all kinds of stuff. And the people probably won't fight back because they're so damn scared.
Yeah. Oh, they're and nobody, if you want to make it in talk radio, you can't say this. That's why
No.
you'll lose. You will lose all of your funding. People like Charlie Kirk and all these groups. I mean, the things they tweet and they say, it's laughable, dude. It's
Yeah.
like they totally flip flopped. And again, it's just so well planned. Like how we left Afghanistan with $40 billion worth of weapons and stuff like that. If I wasn't a conspiracy, if a conspiracy theorist, I would say, well, I wonder if that was maybe the goal, was to give them enough weapons to inspire attacks, to give them the idea that maybe they could take on Israel.
Mhm.
And they have all these weapons and a major threat, and it's just perfectly setting up, if Iran gets involved, all these countries that we have supposed animosity with, if they get involved, this is the perfect excuse to go back and to really kick off World War III. Russia supporting Hamas and all this stuff like that. And not to say, again, I want to be clear, like, I don't support any civilian ever being killed. I don't
Mm-mm.
believe wars are horrible. I don't believe that, war is a racket in itself. Stealing some Smedley Butler there, but they just they you they it's just so perfectly planned. It's just so perfectly planned that it's hard not to see that, like, wow, I think this was kind of the goal, has been the goal for a long, long time. Because how do you provide justification to shut off people's water and electricity? Well, you say that they've slaughtered whatever 900. I don't know what the count is. How do you prove how if that's true or not? You
Yeah, yeah,
can't. But and I saw, and I think that was Greenblatt's one like thing was, and that again, that's something that should be insulting to anybody in the West. But how, oh, this is because of the percentages, this is the worst attack on people since the Holocaust, or whatever phrase they're using, basically saying like, oh, one Israeli dead is equal to 500 Americans being dead. It's the same equivalent or whatever ratio they're
yeah,
using.
yeah,
I mean, how again, how if that the only people that can get behind that is talk radio, and maybe the evangelicals who are told that
yeah.
you should worship the Jewish state and
Hmm.
and all that, because there's no other way that you could get people behind this belief that your life is worth less because there's
Yeah,
less Jewish people on the planet than there are Christians or white people.
right. Yeah. Yeah, it is insane, and I like what you said earlier. I actually almost said that word for word on my show today about how the conservatives seem to care more about these people in that state than they do their own people in their own state. The conservative, at least the talking heads, it's just really unbelievable. And it's just there doesn't seem to be an end to it. I mean, especially when the end goal is as crazy as it sounds, it's not me saying that, it's their rabbi saying that they're going to control the world one day, and that's pretty damn scary because, again, the people that are in control of that government over there are these rabbis and these people that are a part of these extreme orthodoxy over there. So it's just one of the things that I don't think you could convince an evangelical Christian that, because I was brought up in that world, and it was just we always defended Israel no matter what. That's just what you did, and it's taken me, a few years to understand all this because I've done this research, which has been daunting and depressing at times because I've had to go against things that I thought my whole life. But that's the reason I wanted to read a lot from their own writings, because that's where you find out what they really believe. And, they, they have no respect for Christianity. I mean, it's ridiculous. And Christianity practically worships them. It's like Israel, the government over there has almost become like a golden calf to Christians. And it's really crazy how things have turned out.
Well, just days before all this went down, there was that one video that went viral of, because of course America and white Christianity is on the decline, but I think I looked like an Asian group that was carrying the cross, and they seemed they were like waiting in line for the Jewish these Jewish people to walk, and they were being spit on carrying the cross,
Yeah.
and nobody. It was just brushed under the rug. No, you didn't see Sean Hannity saying, "Oh, that's evil." No one brought it up. No one brought it up. But now,
No.
2 weeks later, we're supposed to say, "Oh, well, that's just a tradition. They've always done that."
Mhm.
But it's restarting that's my favorite thing I've been seeing on Twitter too, is like, "Oh, you see why Trump banned all these Muslim terrorists from coming in? Well, now look what's going to happen." Yeah,
Mm.
it's restarting that 9/11 hate of Muslims and things like that. And again, I dislike nobody. Do I believe that multiculturalism is good for is good for a country? No, I don't. I definitely not think that's true. I think it's detrimental in every way. But it's just interesting to see that they're restarting that hate
Yeah.
that was so prevalent post 9/11, that
Mhm.
every a Muslim person's a terrorist, every person that dresses like this is a terrorist in disguise or whatever. It's just funny. It's just funny that we've learned nothing, or the people have
Nothing.
learned nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. War on Terror 2.0, man. I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't learn from that first war on terror, the Afghanistan, Libya, Iraq, even supporting the Yemeni genocide, if you don't learn from all that stuff, you'll never learn from anything. And a lot of people haven't. I mean, it's crazy, man. A lot of these people are just putty in the hands of the Israeli
I
government
like
and
it.
the people that are you know, uh, like the Pregers and the Shapiros and those kinds of people. And
So
those
what do you
people are going hard on this, on Twitter
oh,
and
so hard, dude. So what do you think? Where does this go? Where is this leading? I mean, because I don't know, like I follow it kind of. I thought I saw something how either Palestine or Hamas said they were willing to start peace talks. Did you see that or
I
no?
haven't
Am I
seen
pulling
that.
that out of my you
You,
haven't
you
seen that?
I no, but I've been kind of unplugged today, so if it happened today, I could have missed it.
I forget where I saw. I saw somewhere that like they were interested in having peace talks. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I thought I saw that somewhere. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But I'm last thing about I saw. I don't know if you Jordan Peterson. Do you follow him on Twitter?
Yeah, yeah.
Just his like enough is enough. Let's end this and just such warmongering, beating the drum. But so where do you think? So do you think this is this going to continue to escalate? Is this going to where does this go from here?
Well, let me say quickly, I saw last night that Jordan Peterson had quoted the Talmud on Twitter. And the Talmud, it's like 60 books, but it's got some absolutely horrible stuff in it. So anyway, I thought, well, if you didn't think he was compromised, now you know. Um, and one other thing, let me, while we're on this, let me just,
Yeah,
I'll answer your question in a second.
yeah,
But I thought, I see all these people, all the conservatives, the people we've been talking about, the talking heads, especially talking about how Biden gave Iran 6 billion. See
yes,
what
yes.
happened?
I saw that. Yeah,
And I'm like, and they keep saying Biden, Biden, Biden. And again, we know Biden is not in charge of anything. He's not, capable at this point. And look at all those Ashkenazi Jews again that are a part of his administration, and they seem to be okay with doing that, giving that money to Iran, just like under Obama, whose administration was also absolutely crammed full of Ashkenazi Jews, and they did the nuclear deal with Iran, right? So what's up with that,
yeah,
And but just to answer your question, man, I don't know. I mean, there's ramblings of World War III, God forbid. I mean, if Iran gets pulled into this, and God forbid Russia and I think it was this guy Adam Fitzgerald on Twitter. He's a good follow, especially on this subject. He had tweeted yesterday that the Secretary of State Lloyd T. Austin had made a statement, and in that statement, it said basically this is not really about Hamas. This is about Lebanon and Syria and a couple of other places in the area. So it sounds to me like at least America, and I'm sure again Israel, because they're long-term plans, have got other plans for the Middle East, because you go back to 9/11, you had Condoleezza Rice and that group of the Project for a New American Century, and it was mostly neocon Ashkenazi Jews in that, and they had a map redrawn of the Middle East.
yeah,
They had that all planned out. So
yeah,
I mean, this is a long term plan. Even going back to Wesley Clark, he talked about that famous clip of him talking about right after 9/11 how he talked to one of his guys at the Pentagon after he retired, and they were, hey, we're going into Iraq and Afghanistan and Libya and all the places we've been to, basically. So unfortunately, I think they've got this idea that they're going to remake the whole Middle East, and I guess maybe give it all to Israel. That's the only thing I can think of.
yeah.
I mean, that's what
Well,
it seems like.
I agree, dude. And you said nukes, and I before the show, and I wanted to play this clip. So I don't know if anybody or kind of this is kind of off the topic, but of the future of warfare. And so there's this awesome clip. It was posted by Geopolitics and Empire, and it's a Frank Zappa clip on race specific bioweapons and nuclear weapons. And this is from 1984. So let me present this. And so that doesn't totally relate, but I just found it fascinating that Frank. And so if you guys don't know Frank Zappa, he was a big I guess he was what, a single person. Did he have a band in the hippie era? Or he just was
Yeah, he had some band called Frank Zappa, and I want to say the Mothers of Invention or something like that. It was
okay.
quirky music, though, dude. It was not. It was really strange music.
Okay. Well, and his dad worked at he worked at Fort Dix, right? I think Fort Dix.
I can't remember.
Basically he was in charge of biochemical warfare. But I wanted to show this clip, and you never saw it, so I hopefully it'll play well. It's an awesome clip. So let me play it, put it up all the volume all the way up, and we don't need to play all of it, but I just found it awesome. So hopefully you can hear this. Let me see. Let's see here. Let me see if I can get this. Oh, I want to play this clip here loud. Oops, I don't want that. Oh gosh, guys, 1 second. Let me see how I can get this to play loud. Let me see. Do it this way.
Say it was AIDS.
There we go.
Well, this thing is called a mystery disease, but it's quite obvious that it is an AIDS-like disease, and it's been manufactured on purpose, and it's being transmitted on purpose, and the purpose is to rid the planet of certain people. I believe that AIDS, in reality, is not a natural accident. It's not a natural disease that just sort of evolved. Somebody cooked it up. I think that it's something that either escaped from a genetic engineering laboratory or something that was manufactured on purpose in a genetic engineering laboratory to somebody's specifications. I also believe that all the warfare of the future will be conducted with these biological agents, because now the gene splicing is a thing that can be done. It is feasible to consider the preparation of certain diseases which will kill only specific races, nationalities, or people with certain interests, because you can tailor the disease to attack certain things in certain categories. For example, there are diseases now which affect only certain types of people. Tay-Sachs disease, which affects certain Jewish people. Sickle cell anemia, which affects Black people. If you want to narrow it down and carry it to ridiculous extremes, I could see somebody in an American laboratory, or maybe even in a Swiss laboratory, making a disease that would kill only Iraqis, or only Iranians, or only Libyans, or only Russians, or only people from Newcastle, whatever they decided to do.
But these are very serious allegations, Frank. I mean, what actually makes you believe this? Do you have hard and fast evidence that this is the case, or is it just something that you...
No, this is just the opinion of an aging buffoon. Just pick nothing of it.
So, you think that possibly America or any other country in the world could increase its power and its standing internationally by actually utilizing these agents?
Let's look at the world the way it really is. Government is a joke. Governments don't do anything. That's like a cardboard cutout that hides where the real machinery is. The world is a place that does business. The world is run by multinational businesses that mostly sell weapons to each other. And then you have sugar business, oil business, coal business, business. And when the guys who run these things say jump, all governments jump. And it's foolish to consider the possibility of nuclear war because from a business standpoint, it's impractical. It stops all business. So the way you have to look at it is the chances are much more likely that the sales will continue of missile delivery systems, but what will be in the warheads will not be things that destroy real estate. It's much more practical to think of missiles going someplace and putting out chemicals or microbes that enable the one party to subjugate the other party by controlling its labor force while leaving the buildings intact. So you've subjugated them, and now you got a bonus, you have their machinery, you got this, you got that. And I believe that there's somebody sitting in an office someplace that's working on it, and that's the practical way to do it. You can scream about nuclear war, and you have people running around with signs and stuff like that, but I don't believe there will ever be a nuclear war because it's just impractical from a business sense. Meanwhile, the companies that are building delivery systems are making plenty of money, billions of dollars, because the money goes into small arms, delivery systems, medium-sized arms. Their commerce is still going on, and that's why they're alive. That's what they love to do.
Yeah, that's already been borne out by missile systems that have been developed that do in fact destroy people, not buildings. I take your point there, but it is somewhere as complicated as America, which is a real potpourri of...
Well, so you get the gist though, but Frank Zappa talks about how he doesn't. This is in 1984. This is way long ago, and I'm like I said, they were probably playing around with gene splicing then. But I found that fascinating that Frank Zappa, like I said, whose dad had these connections, was making biological warfare, was talking about how he doesn't believe a nuclear war will ever happen, but what will happen is they'll use weapon systems that target either race specific or even ideologically specific thoughts. And that's the way that they're going to dominate the future. So I can see this, and this type of weaponry exists in 2023. Somebody in the chat talked about 23andMe and BlackRock. But so you could see how that would be much more feasible. You don't want to blow up and destroy an area that if nukes are real, but you don't want to destroy a huge city with all this infrastructure and all this stuff. But you would want to get rid of all the people that may cause you problems, that may push back, that may threaten the world homogeny that they're trying to create. And I just thought that was, I mean, I think Frank Zappa would end up working for the IMF or something like that. But I don't know if you ever saw that. I'll send you the full clip. It's like a 5-minute clip of Zappa talking about that. But I thought that I just found that super interesting, that clip, when I saw that of 1984. So I just wanted your thoughts on, and I know that was a real brief. Hopefully you can hear it okay. Of
Yeah,
what
yeah.
Zappa was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, man, he blows my mind because he's a musician. He's not supposed to know all that stuff, and he's so smart. I don't know if anything's ever been found out about him actually being, intel or something, but God, man, he knew what was going on, and it's just strange how accurate some of his predictions were. So, he's got some great quotes on government and policies, and he was just so blunt about everything, so honest about everything. And of course, we don't really have anybody like that nowadays, especially as far as musicians go. But
Oh, what are you talking about? Russell Brand, dude. He's being
oh yeah,
hunted down by the machine. Man, he's being silenced. He's being sued. Russell Brand. He's standing up for the people, dude.
right. I forgot about Russell. Damn, they're bringing him down, dude. They're bringing him
Yeah.
down. Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah. Good. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, no. That's funny, man. Because he's kind of like he kind of puts himself out there in that kind of Zappa vein, kind of.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like a hippie. I'm kind of like, but I know a lot about what's going on, and I'm trying to warn people. I don't know, man. It's wild, but yeah, I think, no, I think that Zappa was definitely onto something there. I'm going to check out the whole thing.
Yeah, I'll send that over to you on Twitter. But it's like, this is the perfect time to utilize such a device. Like, because I don't believe that no country wants to complete. If my goal was to take over Palestine or take over Russia or wherever, I don't want to destroy all the infrastructure. I don't want to have to rebuild all this infrastructure. But what I
Mhm.
would like to do is eradicate anybody that may stand in my way. And whether that's all Christians, whether that's all, and you're going to lose some people in the crossfire that may, the biological warfare might cross contaminate or whatever. But that him saying that in 1984 just blew my mind, because it was
Yeah.
just such an accurate prediction of what you can see is going to happen. I mean, think of how much DNA and all that stuff they had, that Minority Report-esque dystopian future, the crime prediction, this just using weapons that go after anybody that fits this character, this stereotype, this characteristic. And that's a weapon that I could see being utilized in the coming World War III. Because that's going to be far more useful than just blowing places off the face of the map. When you have an invisible enemy, when it's terrorism, when it's COVID, when it's the war on drugs, when you have an invisible enemy, that's the best enemy to have, because you can't pinpoint who really the enemy is.
Mhm.
You can just
Yeah.
it's a wide net. You can say anybody is that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I can see them doing something like that maybe as, I mean, I'm sure they've done it already, but like, say the homeless problem there in San Francisco, kill all those people and then go in and buy all that empty real estate for
Oh
next to
yeah.
nothing,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and dude, they've done that. And again, history rhymes, right? They did that after Napoleon lost at Waterloo, oh, England lost. I got my Napoleon hat right behind me there. But, everything's worthless. And with the Rothschilds increased their wealth, some in ungodly amount, sound like buying land, companies on pennies on the dollar. It's just hilarious how, and I think you're exactly right. This is the way. Yeah, I think it's part of the plan. You destroy these cities that have some of the most valuable real estate in the world. You rid them. You make them as so bad that already are decreasing property values. I mean, San Francisco is completely empty at this point. And then now you just rid the problem of all the unwanted people through biological warfare, whether that's lacing all the fentanyl with whatever, or whether that's releasing something in the air, whatever it is. And now you can buy this stuff pennies on the dollar and rebuild the whole system but you can still keep your liberal, we love everybody. It was just an unfortunate event that all these people died because of whatever lie they decide to make up and use to to justify that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And kind of leading back, unfortunately, to our original subject, like, it's taught in the Talmud that non-Jews are not people, that
Right.
they're kind of like animals and stuff like that. And of course, I don't know if it's the IDF chief or was saying, on video that the Palestinians are animals. So it's just kind of interesting to think about that. If you have a group of people who don't really think that other humans are worthy of living, they have no problem taking them out in whatever way possible. And that doesn't just stand for, people who may be seeking power that happen to be Jewish. That's anybody who's evil and seeking power.
Right. Right.
So yeah, it's really scary to think about.
No, and I think that's like a big takeaway too. Like they'll use that statement like, "Oh, that's anti-Semitic," and it doesn't matter. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what color you are, whatever. Um, these people will gain power and utilize whatever they can to remove any opposition possible, and they'll do that by flooding the country with immigrants. They don't, America, the powers that be, they don't want the third world imported here. These people, because they'll be poor, they'll be much easier to control, but they know that's not how you create a successful country or whatever, but that's not what their goal is. Their goal is just to have a populace that will jump when they say jump, that you say how high. And if you can get
Mhm.
rid of all free thinking, intelligent people, then perfect. Now you have a populace that is totally controllable, totally manipulated, and will forever go along because they're whether their IQ is not high enough, whether they don't know any different, whether they're just happy to have free TV and free food. That's the greatest kind of group of people you want to lead ever.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. They don't like people who think for themselves and who want to do research and look into how things actually work. I mean, they want sheeple, as as a lot of people say.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people out there like that. I mean,
Yeah.
there really is. They've entertained us to death, basically. And even with all the, with the technology and all the ability we have to research and do things, it seems like there's still an awfully lot of people out there that are just clueless.
Oh, dude, I saw like in Maryland, it was a horrible statistic. It was something like only like 21% could pass, like, or passing at a, 78% are at like a fifth grade reading level that are graduating college or graduating high school. But because of quotas and diversity quotas and stuff, they're getting passed and passed. And I tweeted about this and it got retweeted by a big account and I had to take it off. But I work for like a smallish company. We're like 11 years old, and 10-year, if you can make it, if a company can make it 10 years, you're pretty good. You're 90% of companies fail before 10 years.
Hmm.
And so if you can make it past that, but we work with a couple larger billion-dollar companies. They outsource work to us. And even there, what they do is that now they're starting to require us to do climate programs, which cost thousands of dollars, diversity programs, which cost thousands of dollars to work with us. And if you're a new company that could pose any threat, that maybe you have a better product, maybe you have a better something, well, you'll fail because you barely have enough money to get by. But now if you want to get work, you want to get this $1 million bid or this $1 million contract, well, you need to follow these certain rules or these certain programs, and you don't have the money to fund those. Well, you're not getting that project, and your company's going to fail because you can't compete. How do you compete? And it's
Mhm.
just, solidifying more and more power at the top, more and more work at the top, and competition will slowly decrease. And I swear, like 90% of people, if you ask them what they do for a living, they have these titles, like or direct management of whatever. And you're like, well, what do you do? And they're like, oh, well, I work from home. I have meetings, and you have no idea what they do. And that's America, dude. Like
Mhm.
my
Yeah.
cousin, my in-laws and stuff. I have no I and I asked them, like, what is your job? And they're like, well, I do. And I'm like, I don't, what do you do? Like what on it? What do you do? And I don't think they really know what they do. And that's what that is the American economy, is people of email jobs, of meeting jobs that, again, I have no, I don't think they know what they do on a regular basis, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I know people like that as well. And it just seems like that's where everything's shifted. And I guess it's only going to get more like that because the way technology's going.
Right. And they need to have some jobs to keep you busy. But, so that's why I think they allow these jobs to exist, because,
Yeah.
they don't, these companies don't need, but they have so much money. They have no competition. They can hire whoever. They can give you some BS job, make it and keep you employed. Because if you have too many unemployed people, then you have an issue. But if you have enough people, you have a few people still moving up in the ranks, still making good salaries. You'll keep them quiet. You'll keep them calm. You can maintain a semblance of normalcy until when they're ready to fully just automate your job. And that's the end. There you go. Then you're done.
Yeah. Yeah. They
Yeah.
might give you a little severance and boom, you're out of there.
And that's it, dude. Well, I told you 9:30, so we'll end the show there, and you can, and so the next, you're still working on your, I know you've been on Zionism for a while. Or is that still your next show, next topic?
Yeah, man, I dropped a show today. I had 2 shows I've been working on, both under that subject, really getting deep into some of the history. But today I figured, since everything is going on in the Middle East, I just did like a 35-minute show on that.
Nice.
Just sat down and did it because I'm like, it's a little bit different. I usually like study and, read and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So I just decided to kind of do one off the cuff. But yeah, the next 2 shows, unless something comes up, will be about that subject again. I think today's episode was the 11th in that series. So I'm just going to keep on trucking until I get bored with it.
Nice, dude. Well, and guys, I'll be back hopefully next week. I'm like working on 2 books, Burying the Boys. I'm like almost done with that, and then I'm getting pulled with this awesome Crowley book. So I got to decide which one I'm going to write my notes on. So we'll see. Both are all, if you guys haven't read Burying the Boys, I think he just died. Daniel Hopsicker. He was the guy who wrote Burying the Boys. But he just passed away very recently, though. I have his book autographed.
Man.
It's all about, how, now I'm forgetting his name, the guy Made in America, whoever is a Barry Siegel,
Seals.
Barry what?
Is it Seals?
Yeah, something with an S, Barry something
like
about how he
Toro,
flew.
I don't know.
How he flew for the CIA, more cocaine and drugs, and he worked in the same place as whoever shot Lee Harvey Oswald and all that stuff like that. So next week I'll get that show out, guys, and so I'll try and get back on the time. So we had 20 people here, so it was so nice that all you guys came back for the first show in a while. But I'll get back in the swing of things now, get back to reading and all that stuff. So Oddman, where can they? And Wes, please send me those. Please send me those. But where can Oddman, as always, because Oddman really did do an awesome series on, like, I think like 12 episodes on Zionism.
11, yeah.
11. Oh my,
11.
I'm sure.
It's
And that's
2 more
not
to
a
go.
cult number, everybody. Don't worry. Oddman's not doing Kabbalistic magic on you. But where can people listen to you, Oddman, and all those good things?
Yeah, man. So check me out at _the_oddman_out on Twitter and his Instagram too. I'm not on there that much, but if you look in the profile, it's got my link tree. You can find the show, and I've been doing videos on BitChute, like short videos. A lot of them are about Zionism too, and that's basically the only place I can put them on there and not get them taken down. There might be a couple other places, but I'm checking into it. Anyway, thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks, dude. Well, thanks. And I'm Jack Allen, everybody at Kojak Podcast. Thanks again for all the prayers and support, and 20 people joining for the first one. I'll get back in the swing of things soon enough here. And that's it. So guys, have a good night. God bless. Hang in there. And we'll talk soon, everybody. Peace.